strategy you take is based on the issue you're dealing with. I know it's hard to be alone. That's better than going through a breakup.
Oftentimes, when a man is sold out, they all the way in. But a woman can be influenced a little more. Women doing crazy stuff. They busting out windows. They just...
Welcome to today's episode of Relationship Talk with the Geths. We are so honored and excited to have Pastor Dharius and First Lady Shameka Daniels with us today. They are pastors, authors, speakers, coaches, and transformational leaders in the marketplace as entrepreneurs. They know how to make a difference and a dollar, and they teach other people how to do the same thing using many different platforms. So, before we dive in, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, go ahead and click subscribe so that you won't miss out on all the good stuff that we have dropping. Okay, got it? A few months ago, Dr. Dharius dropped some show enough gems on us in a sermon series titled Manology, where he shared some silent struggles of men and he gave us tips as women that we can use to help the men in our lives be the best versions of themselves.
What is a word that you would use to describe the dominant emotional disposition of most of the men you encounter? And the word is hungry. Some men are hungry because we're malnourished. Some of us are hungry because our needs are treated like preferences. Some of us are hungry because we have somehow came up with an unbiblical ideology of masculinity that says my strength is revealed in my ability to go without what God created me to need.
So if you haven't checked out this sermon series, you need to get on that ASAP. We have links to all three parts on our website, and we also have a workbook for wives that goes along with the series. So you can download this workbook for free, and you can watch all three parts of the series if you go to onevisionerc.com, click on Relationship Tools, and then click on Manology. So Dr. Dharius.
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about this in part one, and we can look around and see there's a large disparity in the proportion of men and women in church. So my sisters are coming in strong, trying to look cute, just in case Boaz is watching.
Right.
But then when they get there, you got Naomi on one side, Orpah on the other side. So
Ruth in front of her.
Exactly.
Sarah.
You see?
Hagar. Everybody in there.
So you gave us three barriers that you believe are keeping men from being active in the church. You said that one dealt with church leadership, one was with the relevancy of the message, and then you said that, there's a presence of judgment and condemnation. And that's where we come in. What do you think that looks like in church? What are the people that are professing to be Christians doing to make people feel like this?
I call it demonizing differences. So this is what I mean. Nobody's perfect, right? So that means all of us are imperfect, but all of us don't have the same imperfections. Right. So my struggle might be in one area, somebody else's struggle may be in another. So let's say if somebody struggles with anger, and let's say somebody struggles with people pleasing. It's real easy for the person that's a people pleaser to judge the person that has an anger problem. Say, you need to get that anger under control. Yeah. And so I think what happens is there's really a demonizing of the differences of the weaknesses of men.
Okay.
So there is a degree of abundant grace shown for other weaknesses.
Okay.
But when it comes to specific weaknesses that men may have, then a lot of times there's a demonization of those differences. And so that's not to excuse any wrongdoing with men. There's no excuse. Yet at the same time, it's important, I think, if we're gonna have this conversation, it's important for us to be intellectually honest and say, okay, we do kind of give the brothers a harder time.
Question on that. Do you feel like the demonization is geared towards the men, or do you feel like it's new for them? Because I'm thinking back with women, and it could just be the old gospel African-American church. If a woman got pregnant, like she had to go to the front of the church.
100%.
And so maybe women are just used to their role, and getting
Yes.
stoned because you committed adultery, but
Yes.
you in the bed with somebody else.
Yes.
And
The man's not there.
He didn't catch a rock to the head.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think it's just new that?
I think it's
You
an
see what I'm saying?
overcorrection.
Okay, right.
So
there we
I
go.
think so I grew up when it was like the pendulum was the other way. So it's like if the girl in the choir got pregnant, the drummer got to keep drumming and she had to get up and right?
Yeah.
Now it's like the pendulum swings all the way to the other end.
Right.
And there is such, I think, overcorrection that now instead of finding balance in the middle and saying everybody needs grace and everybody needs accountability, it is gone from women, y'all the problem, to now over on this end, men, you the problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in my day it was like they called women Jezebels, which had nothing to do with sexuality at all, but right? But they called women Jezebels,
That's my church.
hussies.
Well, you brought back going right there.
So it was that. Now I just think the pendulum swung in the other direction, and they're just everybody needs grace, everybody needs accountability.
I love it.
Well, we definitely don't want to come across as judgmental because we're supposed to be sharing the love of Jesus, carrying out the Great Commission and winning souls for Christ. Now, I grew up Pentecostal, so I know that. We were strong on getting people saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, even if it took all day.
Right.
It was a long process. So, but let me give you a scenario. There's a young, handsome, gainfully employed Christian brother. And he works with a woman who's not a Christian, but she's fine. And he's very attracted to her, but he feels it's his duty to introduce her to Christ. What is your advice to him to, make sure he don't get caught up in the sauce, but making sure he don't also get caught in a situation where he's unequally yoked?
Which answer y'all want?
Oh,
I want the real
we want the real.
We didn't get the real answer. I think I saw something with you. I want to go back. I want to argue a little bit because
Let's go.
I don't know if
I love
I don't know if they agree with my last answer yet. But we need to circle back because I would love to hear what y'all think because I think the pendulum is swung and I'm like men are just getting
I think so too.
demolished. We will come back to that maybe because I think we need to argue a little bit.
I want to, but
She looks forward to it.
So here's the first thing I would say. All right, now this is gonna be super controversial, but you asked me, so I'm giving it to you.
Yes.
All right, so I think that attractiveness piece is a really important piece. Now, Jesus is 1A.
Yes.
Right.
The attractiveness is 1B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got me?
I got you.
Okay.
I'm with you. You got me.
So I don't think he should diminish the importance of like, yo, I'm attracted to this because that's important.
That is.
Yet at the same time, I think it's dangerous when the person you're attracted to is a person you feel like you're assigned to introduce to Christ.
Right.
It's almost like your motives can be jaded a little bit because it's like, I want to get you to Jesus, not to get you to Jesus. I want to get you to Jesus because I'm gonna feel okay about being with you.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Justified.
And so I think that gets in the way of you actually being effective in reaching them because you're gonna be so pressed to reach them. You may not be as patient as you need to be. You may force conversations when the door's not open to have those conversations. So I feel like, I talk about this in relational intelligence. I feel like it's dangerous when you try to date someone that should be your assignment.
Right.
Not that you're not assigned to who you date,
Word.
but it's like, yo, if they're not saved right now, they just somebody you're attracted to.
Yes.
But if they're not saved, they're not somebody you should be with.
Right.
So what you need to do is pump the brakes. I'll tell the dude, what you need to do is pump the brakes, see if that person comes to Christ.
Right.
And if they come to Christ, maybe that needs to be your confirmation that this is not just an assignment.
Right.
This is something I need to pursue. Because I'm just telling you, the beauty on the outside is important.
It is.
But that Christ-like character on the inside is what makes her a woman you can trust.
That's sustaining. Yep.
You know what I mean? The finer they are, the more options they have, the more approach they're going to be. So the greater character they got to have.
Right.
Okay.
That's true.
You got me? So I feel like I'm not judging anybody, but y'all ask me, if you running after her and she fine and she don't have Christ-like character, you probably gonna be calling me later. You know what I'm talking about? I need to talk, PD. I did my heart broke. She was, I found her talking to Billy at the gym. You know what I mean?
Going crazy.
And even for the strongest man, I mean, if your duty starts out, the Great Commission, pretty soon it's my duty to please that boo. That's where it's going.
It's gonna go.
It's going, even if you're strong.
Which makes it difficult for you to witness more in the future.
Right.
Because it's, you know what I mean? Even though that person knows you're human, you kind of gave away a little bit of your credibility. What you think about that?
I was definitely gonna say that. I know I work with couples, and oftentimes it's couples that they have gotten married and maybe one found Christ and the other didn't, and they took a chance because one was fine. And so now we deal with, on the back end, character issues and things like that, because it's like the person says, well, this is the way I was when you got with me, so now you want me to be different.
Wow.
And so that's some of the things I look at. If they never grow and get to be a better person or just spiritually grow, then what are you going to do? So I always say you need to pump the brakes. That's where I go back to the equally yoked piece. Like, do they have a real relationship with God? Because God will be able to check them on things that if they don't have that relationship, they won't get checked.
So do you think it would be dangerous to even try to share Christ with this person that you're really attracted to?
I think you can share Christ. I just think you shouldn't date them.
Yeah.
So it goes back to what he said, like if they your
able to
assignment.
be separate.
Yeah, you shouldn't. He said in his book, you shouldn't date your assignment.
Yeah. You can't control who you're attracted to.
Right.
You can't control if you act on that attraction.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's just not safe. It's not emotionally safe. You are setting yourself up. You set yourself up more than likely for heartbreak. And I know it's hard to be alone. That's better than going through a breakup. I'm telling you, being bored is better than going through constant breakups, raising your body counts. It's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But isn't it also true? You've heard the stories where a guy would have been a knucklehead, said, I was out here wilding and crazy, but I met her. She made me want to change. I got in there and da. So
that's a great point. Okay. But my question to you would be, is that the exception or the rule?
Right.
And do you want to base your decisions on exceptions?
Yeah.
So there's some anomalies where that happens, but she spends a lot more time with couples than I do. That's not likely. That's not the story the majority of the time.
Yeah, it's way more.
Right.
A guy can have an appreciation for a woman that has high character.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that appreciation that he has for her is going to produce a transformation in him.
Yeah.
Normally it pulls away.
And then I think I'm a little more, maybe I'm biased and I'm wrong, but I know women, and so women need God to help them so we can be influenced by the world and things like that. And so oftentimes when a man is sold out, they all the way in, but a woman can be influenced a little more, I feel like.
You're being safe. I don't know.
So women doing crazy stuff, they busting out windows. I have wives who won't have sex for 6 months to a year because they just don't want to. They don't like the person. And it's like, what did the Bible say? Yes. So when you get into those type of things, it's like, you can't throw Christianity because they weren't there when you married them. Right. So that's why I go all the way back to, I think they need to have Jesus in their life.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Well, I have a question specifically for you.
Okay.
So since we were created to be our husband's help, and you can't be out here helping any and everybody. Right. Yes. So how did you know that Pastor D was worthy of the help investment? What set him apart from the rest?
That's good. I think when we start dating in college, and so as we date, I believe you should gather data. Anytime you date somebody, you get to know the person. You ask the right questions so that you can see, do they check off the right boxes for you? And so I think for me, it was a number of boxes he checked off. His relationship with God was major for me. Although I was still in college, we both loved Jesus. I think he was in Jesus a little more than me. I went out. I was everywhere. I was at the church. I was at the church.
Hold on, what was you at?
I was at the church. No, I was at the church, but then I didn't miss a party either. So, but, I knew what I needed. I knew the type of man I wanted to marry. And so as we began to date and I talked to him, it was just key things that stuck out. And I saw his ambition and his drive. And so for me, I needed somebody with drive. I can't have anybody that's not driven in my life. So I saw his drive, I saw his relationship with God, and I saw the way he cared for me. And then I always look at how you deal with your family too. So those things, once he checked that stuff off, I'm like, hey, I can work with everything else. I can work with it.
And you pointed out that men have verbal, emotional, recreational, and relational needs.
Yes.
So how do you go about meeting all 4 needs for him? And which one is more difficult for you?
That's a great question.
So I feel like the needs go based off of personality and not just a man or a woman. So for me, recreational was easy because that's a need for me as well.
Okay.
Being vocal, I think for me, the hardest one was being expressive. I've grown up where I just never have really been expressive. So if I'm at a football game, I'm gonna ring my cowbell and I'm gonna clap and say, go Gabe. But somebody else is gonna be screaming at the top of their lungs for their child. That's just never been me. I hadn't been able to find the right words. So that's been the hardest thing for me because, and I'll like text now and I try to be more intentional about it, but finding the right way to affirm him and those type of things, that was more difficult for me. I knew the importance of it, but I just didn't know how to articulate what I wanted to say.
ChatGPT, text my husband something.
Here's the thing, I can tell if it's ChatGPT. You can tell. You can tell. Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't do that. I really write from the heart. Yeah.
I got you.
All right, I want to go back to Manology. Part two, you talked about the power of understanding our duality. Yes. Us having 2 parts. Yes. Ooh, I loved it. So we can be smart and silly, humble and arrogant, and my personal favorite, hood and holy. Yes. That's me. So one thing that stood out big though was how you said Samson was born to protect Israel from the Philistines.
Yes.
But yet he kept dating Philistine women.
Yes.
He liked what was killing him.
Yeah.
And so I know you said we definitely don't need to live in denial. We need to be aware of our other side or less desired parts. But with that knowledge, and speaking to somebody who maybe just started their faith walk, how do they learn to control something that's controlled them for so long? What's the steps?
Man, I wish there were like 4 steps I could give, but I can't because the strategy you take is based on the issue you're dealing with.
Right.
And so different issues require different strategies. So let's say like, when I'm talking to guys about purity, we talk about something called bouncing, right? Which is this idea of like, okay, hey, not overly, you're a man and you're visual. What's attractive to you is attractive to you. That's just a fact, all right? Now, what you can control is how much attention you give that, et cetera. That don't fix purity though. Because different people's issues stem from different things. So for some people, it's not like an inability to control themselves physically. It is the emotional affirmation that they get from conquering different women. And so if that source, if the source of what they're doing is like, this is doing something for me emotionally, my sense of manhood is tied up into this, I can teach him bouncing all day. That's not the issue.
That's not the issue.
The issue isn't, so I would say strategy-wise, generally speaking, is that person has to get to the root
They gotta identify it.
of why, because we can be doing the same thing for different reasons. So let's say like, we talk about men a lot, like with promiscuity, but one of the things that she like I said, she's with couples and works with couples a lot more than I do.
Right.
And one of the things is you can have women, like you can have 2 women who've done the same thing like relationally, so there's promiscuity. And one could not even enjoy sex.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it could be,
Another purpose.
that person can be a people pleaser, it could be a number of different. So the question is, what is the root of the issue? You know what I'm saying? And then now it becomes what steps need to be taken to deal with that root. Yeah. But it's different reasons. Some people got anger problems because it's abuse that they went through we know nothing about. And other people just have anger problems because they spoiled. And so it's, we can't, even though it's the same issue, we can't address it the same way.
Everything
That's good.
requires a different attack.
Yeah. So you got to be able to identify that.
Yeah.
And so identifying it, maybe you can't do it, but you might have to have someone close to you to help you do that if you can't see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. So we come to Change Atlanta regularly, but we watch this Manology series online. And I'm gonna be honest, I put the mind blown emoji in the chat about 10 times when you said that we look for duality in the people that we date. Like, OMG. So women want them street, but not in the streets. You know, nice, but not weak. A thug, not a criminal. Saved, not too spiritual. I mean,
I like that last one. You're a thug. Just don't be a criminal. Don't break the law.
Right. There's a line.
Right.
And then men
Come to church
want,
with me on Sunday too.
that's it. Come.
And like it.
Yes. Make sure your shirt is real tight. Make sure real tight on your muscles, so don't nobody mess with us at church. And then what the men want? Mother Teresa and the City Girl.
Yes.
They want you to pray, pop, lock, and drop it.
Yes.
All of that. So do you think that people are looking for unicorns out here with the duality, or
I really don't.
you think they should hold out for the dual package? Because I mean, I know I got one, but how many are still left?
I think to a degree, I think people have to be honest with themselves about what they will be happy with.
Yeah.
I really do. Because if not, very rarely have we seen someone settle relationally.
Right.
And that relationship be one that ends up healthy.
Right.
That's true.
Like when someone settles, eventually they regret it. Now, the problem is this. I think some people have confused their, and I love to hear what you think from a woman's perspective. So I'm gonna speak from a man's perspective. Some men confuse their preferences with their needs.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Sometimes you gotta make adjustments with your preferences, right? There's some adjustment, like there are things about me that might not have been on her preference list. There are things about her that might not have been on her preference list. So I can negotiate with certain preferences.
Yeah.
I can't negotiate with needs.
Right.
So I think when it comes to like that duality there, it's like, what do you like prefer a thug or do you need one?
You need one, right?
You know what I mean? And you got to be honest with yourself about that. Because some people it's like what you want, that duality is so far apart.
Yeah.
Now you stepped into something that's not even realistic.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now wait a minute. He can't be Tupac and TD Jakes, right? You know what I mean? It's like this is. I want him to teach the Bible to me. Wait a minute, okay? You know that guy? He's not. Now he might come to church with you.
Right.
Correct.
Are you cool with that? Because that's probably what you're gonna get. He might not be able to lead you spiritually, ever.
So if you need that,
If you need that,
Come on.
then you got to decide, because it's like you want a thug and a priest. It don't mix. It's like, now can you get him a thug and save? Probably.
Right.
Yes, that can happen. But some of the others, I want to lead our family, and I want him to lead, and I want him to get the bag, and I want him to be strategic. And it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. So I think discerning preferences in it. What do you think from a woman's perspective?
I really would say the same thing, and I talk to women, especially single women, about this often. And I tell them you need to have your non-negotiables. So based off of preferences, okay, we're gonna talk through preferences. I'm like, some stuff you can change, some stuff they can grow into. They can't be short or tall. You got to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But other than that, I say, hey, let's look at the non-negotiables, and could you live your life with this person if they were going to be maybe a soft-spoken guy forever? If that's something that
100%.
that's important.
100%.
And then I say you need to date people based off of what need that you have for that. So I'm in total agreement with what he's saying.
All right. I can't get off Samson. Samson in the Bible, his story resonates with me. So PD, you said he kept choosing different people, but the same type.
Yeah.
That was heavy. That was real heavy. Boy, I started having flashbacks on that one. So even though his relationship with Delilah was wrong, he clearly saw some qualities in her that made it feel right. Yeah. So I want to talk about how often we say it feels right, but what we really means is that it feels familiar. And this is one of the topics Maya deals with in our course, Where is Bae, the Soulmate Search. Yeah. Wow. So there's comfort in familiarity.
What's the name of the course again?
Where is Bae? The Soulmate Search.
Come on.
Yeah. You know what's scary? Every single person that follows Jesus should be taking something like that.
Yeah. That's right.
Most people won't. you think about it. Like and I'm not judging, I'm just saying,
I agree.
I'm just saying like, that's something you don't want to get wrong.
Right.
Yes.
But we'll invest in like outfits and not that. So that I got the right kind of criteria to choose my soulmate. I'm sorry, that's that's the teacher in me that's just like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's like
the soulmate search.
I know it's like people choose, right? And then there's some kind of trauma, it doesn't work out, break up, whatever. And they keep repeating the same pattern because they don't know why they picking that. And they just think, I'm gonna do better next time. When they don't realize why you picked wrong the first time.
Yeah, you hadn't attacked that.
Yeah, they hadn't, or they've assessed it themselves. And they've like, there's someone I know of not too long ago who went to the doctor, they told them they had a virus. This person like, I got strep throat. Because that person had it before. It's like, no, it's a virus thing. And the person went like to another doctor, actually tested them, and they had strep throat. So it was a misdiagnosis. And so that is what happens a lot of times in relationships. It's like we misdiagnose why we picked that person. And then we go to the next one and we think we got it figured out, and it's like, but everybody, I don't know where their course is, but if I was single, I would get it.
One Vision, ERC.com. And One Vision, ERC.com, pick it up. So I'll be honest, as women, like sometimes we see the women that desirable men get with, especially the ones they cheat with. And we ask the question like, now what in the world does he want with her? Like we look and we're like trying to figure things out. So you did mention 3 things that men look for, but the one I really want to dive into is when you said that we really sometimes diminish our sensuality with spirituality. And so where are we missing the mark with this in church? Like, why is it so difficult to teach the balance of spirituality and sensuality, particularly the girls? Particularly the girls. I mean, that's the hot seat one. That's a big one. Like, I really want to get into that.
It's a real one, right? And they're never in it. When you're an adult, you are responsible for your actions, period. I don't care what anyone else does or doesn't do. You're responsible for your actions. So I want to say that, right? I want to preface what I'm about to say with that. So you're responsible for your actions as a man. Yet at the same time, there are certain things when you are deprived of that make you more vulnerable to things you wouldn't be vulnerable to if you weren't deprived of that thing. So here's a biblical principle for that. Paul says, in the context of a marital relationship, there are a number of different ways you can fast. One is abstaining from intimacy. But Paul said, when you do it, he said, do it for a specified period of time. And then he says it should not be indefinite. And then he says, why? He says, then come back together so that Satan does not tempt you because of your inconsistency. So we see that right in Scripture. And so sometimes when we talk about sexual needs, it's not just the physical act itself. It is the emotional connection. It is the eroticism. It is the sensuality. And when a person, even if a person is engaging in the act, but they're not getting the other things that matter just as much as the act, then that person becomes more vulnerable to someone else who might not be as attractive, who might not have character. Does that make sense? But they got the thing that's missing. And so the person risks it all for that missing piece. And I think it's because of the way spirituality's been taught. It's not because there's a disconnect between spirituality and sensuality. It's the way it's been taught to us. We feel like there's a disconnect. So a woman, I don't know where y'all want to take this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like if you're spiritual, you just got to be plain.
Yeah, I think it's the way the church, growing up,
Right.
the way the church has taught it. And so this is why we're trying to teach it different. But I know growing up in the church, it was taught more of a holiness. You're supposed to be holiness. You're not supposed to act a certain way.
Yes.
You're not supposed to be loose, as they would say.
Loose was
And
the
so
word.
all those things,
That was a word. Right?
anything sensual was pretty much negative and wrong. And so I think the church has done that. And then through the years, we are trying to do a good job of it, but the church in a whole has not done a good job of coming back around saying, hey, scriptures teach this, and this is what Song of Solomon says. I never even really knew anything about Song of Solomon until I started learning about marriage and reading about it, because we didn't read Song of Solomon, because sensuality was considered wrong. So I just think that it's the way the church has been taught, and so now this new generation, we have to kind of change the minds of people.
Yeah, because it's scripture. And you can get a little warm
Right.
reading a little Song of Solomon now.
Right.
It is such a, I'm telling, like it is, and I'm not even trying to over spiritualize this, but it is like it's a stronghold.
It is.
It is such a mental barrier. It is almost like certain behaviors are associated with sin
Right.
and sinful women and sinful men, and that deprogramming is like really, really difficult. But it is robbing people of the gift that God wants them to experience in each other. Like, and it is a thing, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You guys know I have a passion for and a calling to men. This is a huge area of struggle for men. Because they want because very often the woman with the high character that they want is not often the woman that gives them the satisfaction that they need.
Right.
Does that make sense? And it's important for men and women to have a full view of sensuality based on what the scriptures say. And be like, no, you need to, it's okay to express yourself. It's okay to be your full self in the context of covenant with this person you in relationship with.
Yes. So we'll end with this right here. Speaking of men.
Yes, men are fighting. Tori, we watched the whole thing. Part 3, you said men are fighting weaknesses that they didn't pick.
Yeah.
And every man has a weakness that he hates, and I think you call them leans. Those areas, yep, where we standing upright and leaning a little bit, and sometimes a lot of it. So, Paul said it best. I don't understand what I do. It makes no sense. What I want to do, I don't do. And that which I hate, I do. So when it comes to these leans, we can't just pray them away. You said we need principles and support to cover the leans, because otherwise we'll just be praying and leaning, leaning and praying. Because I can remember when I was, of the world and getting my gangster lean on. It was way out there. I would go to church, but right after that, I was still
Looking forward
to the lean. And my support group, everybody with me was supporting the lean. 100%. Nobody was supporting the upright. So, and I feel women are natural nurturers. And I think they want to love us in these and try to heal us in these leaning spaces. But I don't think that's their job. I think that's a process us men have to go through with God.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I feel like if they try to heal us, they're taking on God weight.
yes.
That's God. Yet at the same time, I feel like, lean is the word, I get it from iniquity, which means crookedness, right? So you got sin, trespasses. Like in the Bible, you see the word sin, you see the word trespass, you see the word iniquity. And they all they're similar, but they got different meanings. And so iniquity is like, it's an area of leaning that I have where it doesn't mean I fall. It means it's easier for me to fall. So if I'm leaning in a direction, it's easier for me to fall in that direction. So some are like I think generational traits you just pick up from the womb. Like some babies just mad babies, right? Think about, they just, right? And then some are like generational patterns, stuff you picked up and saw. And so yes, I think recognizing a lean is important so you can put principles in place to protect yourself from it. I think it's important. The spouse may not can heal you from it, but the spouse needs to be aware of it.
That's right.
Yes.
So for example, I'm like a really low-key person. And
Most
we
people wouldn't
were,
know that. Most people wouldn't guess that.
Oh,
way,
man.
With the passion you speak
I'm
with.
chill.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I always had to do growing up though, is I had to defend. I had to defend myself and I had to defend my sister. So it's always bullying and all that kind of stuff. So I'm the, you know what I mean? So it was like people would notice, but it was like I fought a lot.
Yeah.
I fought a lot growing up. So it was like, so my instinct is to protect those that I love that way.
Right.
So I didn't, sometimes you don't know what your lean is.
Yeah.
You just know these things. And so one time I was coming back from out of town in Philadelphia. She picked me up from the airport, and I saw the way the airport police are trying to move the traffic along. This one guy was just like, I'm walking out, and I just felt like he's disrespectful.
Yeah, they do.
So I snapped. Now I'm coming back from preaching probably. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm coming back from preaching, and I'm snapping. I'm snapping. I'm like, man, da 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 da. And he was like, do you know you're talking to an officer? I said, of course, because if you had a uniform on, we'd be handling this a different way.
Come on.
She's like, you finna go to jail. Like she's. So what happened was, as our influence began to grow and as God began to trust me with more influence, one of the things she started having conversations with me about, she was like, hey, we kind of need to get you security. We need to get you security. And I'm like, oh, I don't need that around me. That's Hollywood. I don't like it. Da da da. She said, no. It's not just to protect you.
Right.
It's to protect you from you.
That's good.
And so when we hired a guy, she sat the guy down. She said, I need to tell you, when it comes to me, and when it comes to our children, he can become a different person.
Wow.
So you're in his life so she's able to, does that make sense?
That makes
Create a space where you can be.
She's able to help protect us from that, even though she doesn't feel the responsibility to heal that.
correct.
Right.
Does that make sense? Yeah, but your spouse needs, being a helpmate also means knowing that. Like, okay, hey, he can become a completely different.
Right.
And here's the thing. This is like, I literally had something happen at Essence Festival.
What?
Several months ago. So it's like, I pray 3 times a day. I practice the daily office. All of these kinds of things. But the lean is the lean. I literally had something at Essence Festival. And what's scary is my oldest son is the same way.
Yeah.
So we're at Essence Festival, and we're like in the convention area. He walks up to me. He's like, I thought I was just gonna have to put hands on this dude. I was like, what happened? He's like, Mom was walking by. He was about to grab Mom or something like this. I slapped his hand. I was like, what's up? I'm like, where he at? He's like, oh no. It's just, so my son's never seen me. He's never seen me act out like that. So he couldn't pick it up because he never saw it.
No.
So that's why I'm telling you, strengths and weaknesses can be passed through the bloodline. Because he'd never seen me act out.
Wow.
Hey. Well, look, I love it. I appreciate y'all so much. I really do. Thank you so much. Look, tell the people where they can find out more about what you do and what you offer.
Really, you go into DariusDaniels.com.
That's right.
Or lifechange.org.
Yep.
Yeah, DariusDaniels.com is the one place where you can get to every place. But man, I'm excited about what y'all are doing. It's needed. Yeah. It's necessary. I want you to keep striking the ground until you strike oil with this. Yes. It's really important. This interview was great. It was thorough. It was well prepared. It's going to help a lot of people, and you're really good at what you're doing. So we're glad to be a part of it.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much for taking time.
Absolutely.
For more information about our coaching services, courses, marriage tools, events, and getaways, go to onevisionerc.com.
That website again is onevisionerc.com.
If you had a good time hanging out with us today, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss the content that's dropping. Like it so that we'll know you enjoyed it, and share it with somebody so they can enjoy it as well. I hope you guys have a great day.